The Emirate of Jabal Shammar, also known as the Emirate of Ha'i'il or the Emirate of the House of Rashīd, was a state in the Nejd region of Arabia, existing from the mid-19th century to 1921. Jabal Shammar in English is translated as the Mountain of the Shammar. Jabal Shammar's capital was Haʻil. It was led by a monarchy of the House of Rashīd. It includes parts of modern-day Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Jordan. History: the Emirate of Jabal Shammar was established in 1836 and throughout most of its existence was in feud with the House of Saud over control of Nejd. The Rashidis, rulers of Jabal Shammar, had succeeded in ousting the Saudis from Riyadh in 1891 following the Battle of Mulayda. This resulted in the abolition of the second Saudi state, the Emirate of Nejd, and incorporation of its territory into Jabal Shammar. As the Saudis were out of the picture, exiled in Kuwait, the House of Rashīd sought friendly ties with the Ottoman Empire to its north. This alliance became less and less profitable during the course of the 19th century as the Ottomans lost influence and legitimacy. In 1902, Abdulaziz ibn Saud succeeded in recapturing Riyadh for the House of Saud, and began a campaign to reconquer the region, a campaign which turned out to be highly successful for the Saudis. After several clashes, the Rashidis and Saudis engaged into a full-scale war over the region of Qasim, which resulted in a painful defeat for the Rashidis and the death of the Rashidi Emir Abdulaziz ibn Muttab al-Rashidi. Following the death of the Emir, Jabal Shammar gradually went into decline, being further pressed with the demise of its patron in World War I. Ibn Saud, allied with the British Empire as a counterweight to the Ottomans' support for Jabal Shammar, emerged far stronger from the First World War. The Emirate of Jabal Shammar was finally terminated with the Saudi campaign of late 1921. The emirate surrendered to the Saudis on November 2, 1921, and was subsequently incorporated into the Sultanate of Nejd. Today many of the Jabalis of the Shammar live in Syria and Iraq due to the exile commanded by the Sauds and British. Emirs of Jabal Shammar, Abdullah bin Rashid. Abdullah came to power after leading a revolt against the ruler of Haʻil, Muhammad bin Ali, who was a fellow member of the Ja'far al-Shammari lineage. As a leader, Abdullah was praised for bringing peace and stability both to Haʻil and to the surrounding region. Abdullah demanded from his brother Prince Ubaydillah, according to which succession to the office of Emir would remain in Abdullah's line. After the first Ala bin Abdullah, the son of Abdullah, Talal is remembered for his relative liberalism and interest in building projects. During his rule, the Barzan Palace in Haʻil was completed. He established regular trade connections with Iraq and expanded the Rashidi sphere of influence. The inhabitants of Qasim, weary of Wahhabi tyranny, turned their eyes towards Talal, who had already given a generous and inviolable asylum to the numerous political exiles of that district. Secret negotiations took place, and at a favorable moment the entire uplands of that province after a fashion not indeed peculiar to Arabia annexed themselves to the Kingdom of Shammar by universal and unanimous suffrage. Talal was considered relatively tolerant towards foreigners, including traders in Haʻil. Many of these traders belonged to the Shia sect, hated by some Sunni, doubly hated by the Wahhabis. But Talal, affected not to perceive their religious discrepancies, and silenced all murmurs by marks of special favor towards these very dissenters, and also by the advantages which their presence was not long in procuring for the town. In the 1860s, internal disputes in the House of Saud allowed a Rashidi-Ottoman alliance to oust them. The Rashidi occupied the Saudi capital of Riyadh in 1865 and forced the leaders of the House of Saud into exile. Talal later died in a shooting incident which has been termed mysterious. Charles Doughty, in his book Travels in Arabia Deserta, writes that Talal committed suicide. Talal left 7 sons, but the oldest, Banda, was only 18 or 20 when his father died. Muttab bin Abdullah, a younger brother of Talal, he was supported by senior members of the Rashidi family and the sheikhs of the Shammar sections. After only a year, he was shot and killed in the Barzan Palace by his nephew and next emir, Banda. Doughty's version of the events is that Banda and Badr, the second oldest son, cast a silver bullet to kill their uncle because they knew he wore an amulet that protected him against lead. Bandar bin Uttah I ruled for only a short time before he was killed by his uncle, Muhammad, the brother of Mu'taib. Bandar reportedly married his uncle's widow and had a son by her. Mu'ayyan Ahmed bin Abdullah. A confrontation outside Haqqil with his nephew, the young Emir Bandar, ended with Muhammad killing Bandar. Muhammad then continued his journey to Haqqil and announced himself as the new emir. In order to prevent the possibility of revenge, Muhammad gave orders for the execution of all of Bandar's brothers, Bandar's cousins, and their slaves and servants. Only one of Talal's sons, Nejd, survived. In spite of the inauspicious beginning, his rule turned out to be the longest in the history of the Rashidi dynasty. His rule became a period of stability, expansion and prosperity. His expansion reached Al-Jawf and Palmyra to the north and Tamar and Khaybar to the west. In 1891, after a rebellion, Abd al-Rahman bin Faisal bin Turki al-Saud left Riyadh. The Saudi family, including the 10-year-old Abdul Aziz al-Saud, went into exile in Kuwait. Abd al-Izzaz bin Mu'taib. A son of Mu'taib, the third emir, he was adopted by his uncle Muhammad, the fifth emir, and brought up to be his heir. After Muhammad died of natural causes, Abd al-Aziz succeeded him unopposed. However, Rashidi rule was insecure as their Ottoman allies were unpopular and weakening. In 1904, the young Ibn Saud, the future founder of Saudi Arabia, returned from exile with a small force and retook Riyadh. Abd al-Aziz died in the Battle of Raudat Muhenna with Ibn Saud in 1906. Mu'taib bin Abd al-Izzaz succeeded his father as emir. However, he was not able to win support of the whole family and, within a year, he was killed by Sultan bin Hamad. Sultan bin Currency Ahmadi. A grandson of Ubayd, he was criticized because he ignored the oath between his grandfather and the first emir. He was unsuccessful in fighting Ibn Saud, and was killed by his own brothers. Angstrom bin Currency Ahmadi. Another grandson of Ubayd. Siyad was killed by the maternal relatives of Siyad bin Abd al-Aziz, the 10th emir. Angstrom bin Abd al-Izzaz. A boy of 10 when he was made emir, his maternal relatives of the al-Saban family ruled as regents on his behalf until he came of age, based on the constitution of Emira. In 1920, he was assassinated by his cousin, Abdullah bin Talal. Two of his widows remarried. Noura bint Hamad al-Saban became Ibn Saud's eighth wife and Farda bint Asi al-Shuraim of the Ab section of the Shammar tribe became Ibn Saud's ninth wife and the mother of King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia. Abdullah bin Mu'taib. A son of the seventh emir, he surrendered to Ibn Saud in 1921, after having come to the throne the year before, at the age of 13. Mu'ayyan Ahmed bin Uttah I. A grandson of Nejd, the only surviving son of Talal, the second emir. Muhammad bin Talal's wife Noura bint Siban married King Abdulaziz after he was imprisoned by him. Surrendered to Ibn Saud. One of the daughters of Muhammad bin Talal, Watfa, married Prince Muzayyid bin Abdul Aziz, the 15th son of Ibn Saud. Prince Muzayyid and Watfa became the parents of Prince Faisal bin Muzayyid, the assassin of King Faisal. Economy. Historically, the emirate produced alfalfa. See also, List of Sunni Muslim dynasties. References. Further reading, Georg Wallin, Narrative of a Journey from Cairo to Medina and Mecca, by Suez, Arabia, Torala, Al-Jawf, Jabal Haqqil and Negd in 1845, Journal of the Royal Geographical Society, Vol 24, 115-201. William Gifford Palgrave, Personal Narrative of a Year's Journey Through Central and Eastern Arabia, Vol. I. Macmillan and Company, London, Lady Anne Blunt, A Pilgrimage to Nejd, The Cradle of the Arab Race, A Visit to the Court of the Arab Emir and Our Persian Campaign, Charles Montague Darty, Travels in Arabia Deserta. Gertrude Bell, The Desert and the Zone, David George Hogarth, The Penetration of Arabia, A Record of Western Knowledge Concerning the Arabian Peninsula. Zora Freeth and H. V. F. Winstone, Explorers of Arabia from the Renaissance to the End of the Victorian Era, Allen and Unwin, London, 1978.